If that's not just one of the worst tropes in a romance book that we just don't want to see. Magical realism, afterlife, fun vibes, weird beings. You can have your opinions on that, but that's my sitting. That's where I am at with that. I DNF'd it. See ya! Hey, welcome back to my channel, or welcome if you're new here. My name is Hannah and I like to read. This is a bookish space. We yap a lot about books and I hope you decide to stay with us if that sounds like something that you are interested in. Romantasy, thrillers, historical fiction, romance, did I say that? I can't remember. If that sounds like something that you might be interested in, please stay. Today we're going to talk about everything that I read in June, and I truly think we should just dive right in because I'm not sure what's going on with my brain. This might be a bit of a ramble, but I still hope it's fun. This is everything that I read. Let's do it. Small, brief, quick disclaimer. I've already filmed this and the audio was just not right. We're going to do it again. Shall we just dive in? So my first book that I read in June is Next of Kin by Bonam-Young, and I was expecting to really enjoy this because I've read Out of the Woods and Out on a Limb. Both of them unbelievable, loved them. So we decided to dive into this. I picked it for one of my prompts for June and I was excited. I actually just didn't like it though. Like, plain and simple, wasn't for me, because the romance here took a huge jump, went from 0 to 100, hated each other, didn't care about each other, blah blah blah, all that rubbish, and then literally 3 pages later they were obsessed. It was like, I love you far too soon. And if that's not just one of the worst tropes in a romance book that we just don't want to see, yeah, I didn't hate it, but I kind of like had to DNF because when they started saying I love you, I was like, whoa, you guys hated each other like 5 minutes ago, and it wasn't just pretend. Like, your genuine inner monologue was telling me that you didn't like him. So what the hell is happening? This is a book, by the way, about 2 people who want to become the permanent guardians of, I believe it's their siblings. And in order to do so, this scheme has come about where you can join households with another person in order to stabilise your financial situation or potentially provide a safer home, something like that. So they actually end up in forced proximity, and it had all the tropes that could have just given. Like, I love a single parent trope. Love that. I also really enjoy forced proximity, and if you just take a look at the cover and that wonderful little cartoon there, I thought that that could be a little bit of a Prison Break vibe. He does give Prison Break vibes until he absolutely doesn't. I've spoke about this already on my channel, so we're just going to move on. This was a 2-star. I did DNF, but I got a lot of the way through. I almost just finished it because of how far I'd got, but I didn't. I DNF'd it. See ya! When I DNF a book and I'm not sure what I want to read and nothing's just sticking, I pick up a thriller. And I had picked this for my June TBR, so we read The Hike, and I believe we've also read this together on my channel, so more in-depth thoughts and feelings available on this in another video. Hannah, tell them where it is. The Hike by Lucy Clarke. I bought this in a charity shop for 50p, so just genuinely didn't matter whether it was brilliant or rubbish because I just tried to give it a home and love it and, you know, just cozy up, and that we did. I flew through this book. The Hike is about people that obviously go on a hike, and we have 4 female main characters who are all very good friends. They're such different women. One of them's a parent, one of them's single in her like early 40s, and she loves her life. Other people hate their lives. Some people have addiction issues. Yeah, some very complex characters, and I felt like the character development in here was brilliant. The actual mystery itself comes from the hike that they're doing in terms of the actual danger of that in itself. That was scary to me. Bit creepy, and yeah, I definitely had a bit of like, oh, I don't know if I can read this. Other than just the hike itself, where they're doing the hike, let's say it's sort of like this retreat sort of place where people go to do lots of different hikes. Someone went missing from that area, and it is sort of, the hike is sort of connected to what happened to her, and unintentionally diving into what could have happened to that woman, who she was, why it all happened, and that sort of thing. I didn't love the mystery aspect of it in terms of the actual twist at the end, but I did really enjoy the character development, and it was so easy to read. Yeah, a solid 3-star. I would definitely say this is a book that I would recommend to people. If you already own it, go and pick it up for an easy, fun time. If you don't own it, maybe read it on Kindle Unlimited. I think it might be on there. After we were getting back into reading, I thought, you know what? I had a DNF and then I've had a 3-star. I want a 5-star book. So I picked up For Whom the Bell Tolls, because if you have a look at the Goodreads and Fable ratings of that book, they are outstanding. And I thought, ooh, this sounds fun. We've got some sort of magical realism, afterlife, fun vibes, weird beings. Sounded like a good time. So I picked it up. I decided to buddy read it with my sister because she also was a little bit interested in how great some of these reviews were. So we started reading it together. I got 200 pages in, and guess what? I DNF'd it. I was just on a DNF train this month, if I'm going to be real. But it's included in these stats. I do not read 200 pages of a book and consider it not read. I read that book. And you can have your opinions on that, but that's my sitting. That's where I am at with that. I think the issue was I was expecting fantasy from this read. I was expecting magical realism. I was expecting potentially a villain. You know, just any villain, as there tends to be in most stories written ever, you know, like a bad character that nobody likes. I did not see one in this book, and I just felt like it lacked genuine plot. I feel like a lot of it, like certain plot points were rushed. Nothing felt built. If I was going to rate this one, I think I'd probably give it a 2-star, because I am aware that my expectations of the book in terms of like it being a fantasy were maybe inaccurate. Maybe it's actually sold as a romance or general fiction, and I've just missed that, and that might be the reason why I didn't love it. But yeah, that was also a DNF. So say it with me, what do we do when we've DNF'd and we don't know what to read? We pick up thrillers. Yes, we do. I read Ward D by Freida McFadden. As you might expect, this book is set in a hospital, and I think it would have been better if it was set in like an asylum, like Shutter Island vibes, something more intense. I think that would have been a little bit more interesting and creepy and scary. But all I could think about really is that if they really wanted to, they could just go downstairs to A&E, or they could just pop along to like the elderly ward, which is like 2 floors away. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just wasn't super creeped out because I knew that they were just in a normal hospital. But as I expected, Freida McFadden delivered in giving me a super fast-paced, interesting, eerie read. We had some plot twists that I didn't see coming. We have this like really weird... Oh, no, scrap that. It doesn't say it in the blurb, so I'm not telling you. You're just gonna have to read it. There's something that is like followed, like a subplot in this that I found really interesting that involves some history between some characters. Yeah, I had a great time. I rated this 4 stars, and I would absolutely recommend if you're slumping, if you want something fast-paced that's short. I think this is like, what is it? Less than 300 pages. Go read Ward D, it's fun. So that was a little bit of a rough start to the month, I think you could say. So what I decided to do was just stick to my TBR and stop trying to go crazy. And we did a week of reading romance. Together, me and you, we read romance for a week, and I started off with Book Lovers by Emily Henry. I think it's impossible at the minute to go into an Emily Henry book with no expectations, because the discourse around her as an author and the books that she's written over the past few years, including Great Big Beautiful Life, it's just led to so much discussion that you kind of can't avoid it. So yes, I had some expectations for this book, and I was really hoping to enjoy it, and I did. I really enjoyed this. Just for some context, I've read one other Emily Henry book, which was Happy Place, but I read it like 4 or 5 years ago now, and I think if I reread it now, I'd probably love it. But back then, I think I rated it maybe like a 4, so might be revisiting that, but that's not this. We're talking about what I read in June. Lovers follows 2 main characters who both work in the book world, publishing, editing, that sort of vibe. They don't particularly like each other. They're trying to work together on certain things. We also have a little bit of like a sister subplot, which is kind of where the not necessarily necessarily like the trauma, but like some of the like internal character issues are explored. They all have their own shit going on, if you know what I mean. And I personally really like it when a romance book has a really wonderful romance that also involves some sort of personal family problems, or, you know, just something else going on with their life that actually impacts them as people and then therefore impacts their relationships. This book has that, and I had the most wonderful time. Charlie, love ya, the man you are. Mwah. This was 4.25 stars, I think. Yeah. I don't know now in reflection if I could say that this is a romance book, but we read it as part of that video because what do you mean there are red sprayed edges and this beautiful cover and it's not about love? It kind of is, but there's also this magical realism, cursed vibes going on as well. So Our Infinite Fates by Laura Stephen, I finally got round to it. It took me a while, but I got there. And I had extremely high hopes for this book because I've seen people cry on the internet reading this. I've seen people love it. I've seen people get specific special editions because they just love this book. That's not me. I didn't love this book. I thought it was very two-dimensional. And I read a lot of it on audiobook. And if you've read this book, you will understand when I say that there is a lot of sort of POVs, perspectives, characters in this book. Lots of people's minds to wrap your head around, different scenarios and settings. But I read all of that from one narrator's voice perspective. And I think it kind of stunted my enjoyment of the book. We have two people who fall in love every lifetime and kill each other in every one. I'm not going to say anything more, but it just didn't deliver for me. I think I had some really high expectations, but it just read far too YA. I think that if I was 16 or 17, I might have loved it, but yeah, not now. Not at 26. Nah. This was a 2.5. Yeah. Disappointing. On a little bit of a better note though, we read 7 Days in June by Tia Williams because it was June. And this literally has June in the title. I had to read it, and you and I both understand why. It may not have been on the June TBR, but it made sense to me. I bought it, I read it, and I'm so glad that I did. I've rated this 4.25 stars as well as book club is. This book is laced with trauma and some very deep topics. It is not a light read by any means. You kind of have to have lots of empathy and understanding and a lack of judgment when you're reading about some of these characters, because I, as a white woman, I cannot say that I can relate to a lot of this experience, so who the hell am I to judge it? I'm not. Aside from how much race and toxicity takes a part in this book, the romance itself, stunning. I love it. We have a single mother. We have a second chance romance. We have a sassy 14-year-old. She is fucking class. I love her daughter, by the way. Of course, we have Shane, and I knew I was going to fall in love with him from like page 3, and I did. Yeah, I would recommend this, absolutely. And it is deep. It wasn't 5 stars just because I feel like I could have read like 300 more pages of this story, if I'm being real. I think it's quite short for everything that it achieved, but yeah, it could have been 5 stars if we just maybe developed a few things a little bit more. Absolutely loved it. 4.25 stars. Love ya. After reading romance for a week, you better believe I was itching for a fantasy romance. I picked up Direbound and I loved it. At the time when I finished it, which was about 10 days ago now, I rated it a 4.5 star. But on reflection, I think it's a 5 star. Yeah, I do. I think that there is so many wonderful things done brilliantly in Direbound, and I think that I was being picky throughout the book just because I was really taking my time to read it, and it was almost like nitpicking. Like, if I have to pick something I don't like about this book, it's how informal the main characters in a monologue can be sometimes when she's just not being serious about herself and her emotions. But who does that? Who does that? It's me. So I'm definitely not going to criticise our main character for that. Merrin, I'll let you off. We're alike. in some way. If you don't know, Direbound is about a world in which humans can bond with wolves, and there is also, as you might expect, there is lots of poverty-stricken areas and people, and there are also royals, there are more well-off people, and this book does also explore sort of like an academic and trial sort of setting. I would say that they're merged together really well to feel like you're not just reading another trials book. It really doesn't read like that. It's so much more. I'm going to stop there. Really enjoyed it. Go read Direbound. Was fab. My best read of the month, 100%. And finally, obviously after reading something wonderful, we had to just knock it down a few pegs. And I read The Husbands by Holly Gramazio. I feel like I have been wanting to read this for at least 4 months. Constantly thinking about when I was going to pick it up, when I was going to be in the mood. So I feel like I built some anticipation all by myself for no reason. But I finally got round to it. I did pick it up and it just failed to deliver, to be honest. It just says on the cover, and it's truly all you need to know, you wait ages for the one, and then 203 come at once. Our main character has so many opportunities to meet the love of her life. She gets so many opportunities and chances. She meets so many people. Honestly, it's quite wild actually how the opportunities and chances to make this book outstanding in terms of internal reflection and life questions and choices, and you know, make your readers really sort of think and feel. The opportunities were endless, and I think she took like 0.5 of those opportunities, if I'm being so real. I do actually have a lot of negative opinions regarding this book. I wanted to love it, but I just didn't. The flop is wonderful. This is my favourite type of paperback. Just didn't love it. Shall we move on? I did finish this book, and if I was going to rate it, it would get a 2-star rating from me. A more aggressive one than some of my other ratings this month. So there we have everything that I read this month. Actually, do you know what? I don't even want to hold them. What I want to do right now is jump into my July TBR because I've picked so many great books, and I know that before we move on, we have to talk about how great June was, and I could have had a much better month, but at least, you know, we can say we had variety. And I purposely went out of my way to read some poorly rated books, and it's definitely reflected in what we've just seen and my bookish experiences. But I just love reading, and I think one day, if I ever, you know, choose to write a book, I'll be watching myself back being the biggest bitch and saying, well, remember when you said this? Go do it. Remember when you said you want to create this feeling and this is what you want from a book? Go do it. I'm rambling and also kind of feeling a little bit wild right now. Think I just need to get out of the house and maybe move my body a little bit. So thank you so much for watching, and I hope that you had a wonderful reading month. If you didn't, neither did I. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed yourself, if you like watching someone get a little bit wild and crazy and just sort of like lose their shit every now and again, get really passionate about things that just don't matter, this is the channel for you. Please consider subscribing. I'm so glad that you watched until the end, and hopefully I will see you in my next one. Thank you so much. Bye.